Hey, 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 hey. Wait. Hello, Tamika. How are you? Good to see you. Um, Hold on just a second. Just a second. Yeah. Zanya. Armando wants you. Yes, and I stopped it. Hurry up, because I just told him I'd be right back and I turned it off. Now you're not gonna be able to. Oh shoot. Now we gotta figure out how to, okay. Okay, sorry y'all, I'm back. I'm trying to get myself situated here. Oh, you do hear me? Sorry about that. Oh, my sister wanted to. She was trapped upstairs, and I told her she couldn't. Then I turned off the mic, but I didn't turn the audio off. I turned off the camera, but not the audio. Okay, I think I'm set. So, welcome back. If you were here last Saturday, if not, welcome for the first time. So this is my second time doing it. I did it last Saturday and then today at 2. And one of the things that I talked about last Saturday was about the whole pandemic and schools being closed and people being, let me back up for those of you who aren't aware who I am. So I am Jackie Bruton, and for the past 18 years, it's been 18 years, I have been going into middle and high schools and talking to teens about a lot of topics, but the main topic is love, sex, and relationships. So last week I talked about the fact that my concern was that a lot of teens tell me that, y'all like my shirt? I'm my mom's favorite. My sister sent me I have 5 older sisters, and we all got these shirts and took pictures with my mom, and my sister sent a text this morning with this shirt on. So it prompted me to go put mine on, even though she doesn't have Facebook, so she can't even tell that I was trying to let her know that she was not the favorite. But anyway, so last week I talked about the fact that I was concerned about the fact that kids had so much more time on their hands, and with them being out of school, because they tell me already they have sex because they're lonely and because they're bored. You can go ahead and go upstairs on you. They already know that. I didn't turn off the audio. So I talked about the fact that we need to have conversations with our kids, need to make sure that they understand what your expectations are when it comes to sex, and that you need to have some parameters in to make sure that they're not sneaking people into the house. Well, as it would happen on Tuesday, I get this email from a mom. And I was like, I tried to warn y'all. She says, hello, I just found out that my daughter snuck a boy in our house 2 times. We found an empty condom was found a week ago. I'm not sure if an empty condom is the same as a used condom, but anyway. She says she didn't have sex. How do I believe her? She's 15 and she has never been in trouble. I bought your book and DVD, and I'm sorry that we didn't cover your book and video sooner. So here's the deal. She bought my book and my DVD 3 years ago, and her daughter had not read the book or watched the DVD. 3 years, because at the time she was 12. So I'm sure she probably thought 12 was too young to be giving her this information. But the problem is, you got to get it to them before they need it. And she says, we're just starting your book and we will be watching the video. She snuck him in the house twice during this COVID-19 pandemic. Her older brother caught her in the basement with the boy at 1 a.m. while my husband and I slept. Her brother talked talked with her and made her tell us what she had done. She said that the condom was probably his and he wanted to have sex, but she didn't do it. I have registered her for your Monday master class. Or do you have any suggestions for covering your material? Should we watch the video or the book first? Thank you so much for your reply. Well, you should have watched it a long time ago. I mean, she's had it for 3 years and she never got the daughter to watch it. So if you didn't think when I mentioned last week that that was an issue with school being out, that kids have more time to get bored and lonely, and a lot of them, when they get bored and lonely, they resort to having, people over and doing things they shouldn't be doing. So I didn't expect to get an email within a week of me sharing that on my Facebook Live last week. That was just confirmation that what I said was right. But anyway, so this week, what I want to talk about, and I'm not going to be here as long as I was last week because I was on here for an hour last week. And I know how you are if you're like me. Like if you go back and try to watch a replay, you look and see something that's an hour and you're like, I don't have time to watch this for an hour. So I'm going to try to make this much shorter. So one of the things that I think I shared last week that I do with the kids when I'm in, and I started out with 8th graders and then I started doing it with high school kids too. But one of the things I ask them is, we talk about how bad things are, because kids know things are bad. Like as far as like how young kids are when they have sex and all this kind of stuff. And so I said, well, why do you think things have gotten this bad? That's the first question I started asking. And then I started asking the question, when you have kids, how will you parent differently? Like, what are you going to do differently than what your parents do as parents right now? So the first thing that I started hearing is they started telling me, and these were high school students, and they started saying, parents are too soft now and they don't discipline. They said they aren't tough as they used to be. And there aren't enough consequences when we do something bad. And that they threaten and they never follow through. So I was really shocked that teenagers were saying that they were not being punished severely enough. Like that really shocked me. And so, I asked a lot of follow-up questions. And one of the things that one guy said was, parents used to be able, he said, my parents told me that if they got in trouble at school, the teachers were allowed to paddle them. They had a paddle on their desk and they could paddle them. And now, like, there's nothing teachers can do if we act up in school. And I'm like, y'all want to be beat? Like, that shocked me. I'm like, I don't understand. And they're like, well, not necessarily that we want to be beat, but they're like, but it's like parents' hands are tied. And so we can get away with a lot more than we used to be able to get away with. And that's true. Because now, like, they can call Child Protective Services if their parents tried to physically, and I'm not saying that that's the solution, but a lot of the parental rights that parents used to have are being challenged today and kids know that. And as much as we think that kids like want to live a life with no boundaries and do whatever they want to do, like they really want structure and they really want boundaries. So they say parents are just tough. They don't follow through and they don't have consequences. Somebody just told me last week that they were babysitting. The kid was 12 years old and the mom had threatened the kid. The principal had called the parents' house and said that there were 6 assignments that were due the previous week. And the son, who was 12, had only turned in 1. And the mom could not make him do his work at home. Like, that just baffles me how, as a parent, you can't make a 12-year-old like do your work. And so the person was saying, the mom said, well, I told him that if he doesn't do it, so this was a while ago, that if he doesn't do it, I'm taking his cell phone on April 1st. And she's like, why are you giving consequences in the future? Like, I don't understand. Like, how are you going to say take it now? If there's a consequence to him not doing something now, like, let the consequence be now. Don't say the consequence is going to be in the future. And so when she said something to the 12-year-old son about the fact that, your mom said, if you don't do this, she's going to, and he said, she's not going to do it. She always threatens and she never follows through. Y'all, that's the problem. Because what happens is now the son has no respect for the mom because he knows that when the mom says she's going to do something, like she never follows through and she doesn't do what she says going to do. And I would rather a parent not threaten consequences than to threaten and not follow through. Because to me, that's worse. Just let the kid do it initially and don't give idle threats. I call it selling wolf tickets. And that's a problem. Another, when I said, how are you going to parent differently? And these were 8th grade girls. They said, I'm not going to rescue my kids because how are we ever going to learn to be responsible adults if parents don't ever let us learn from our mistakes? So this is an 8th grade girl who is saying, I'm not going to be rescued. And whenever they tell me these things, and I know there's a story behind it. And so I'll always say, so why do you say that? Like, what's the story? And she said, like, if I make a bad grade at school, she said, my parents called the school and fuss at the teacher. She's like, the teacher wasn't the one who made the bad grade. Like, I was the one who made the bad grade. And they're calling the school trying to fix a grade that I was the reason why I got a bad grade. And if there are any parents teachers out here listening, you're probably saying amen to that. But so she said, but she's right. How will they ever learn if they're never allowed to fail? And so a friend of mine told me once that I think her daughter was in the 3rd grade. And she said that they had a routine that she picked the daughter up from school. This is their typical routine. She picks the daughter up from school. As soon as the daughter gets home, the daughter has to do her homework before she can do anything, before she can watch TV, before she can do anything. She has to do her homework right away. And she's like, this has been our routine forever. And she said that one particular day, I can't remember what was going on, that she did not pick the daughter up from school. Her husband picked the daughter up from school. The daughter had an assignment that she had to turn in, but the husband did not know what the routine was when they got home. So when they got home, she started watching television. She did all this stuff and she didn't do her assignment. So she said that night, it was like 9 o'clock, which was her bedtime. And she goes into the daughter's room and she says something about her not having homework, or did she do her homework? And the daughter said, oh, I forgot that I had to study. And so she said her daughter hates getting a 0. And she said she knows that about her daughter, that her daughter hates getting a 0. So she said her husband said, well, let her stay up past her bedtime and finish it so she can get a good grade. And my friend said, nope, she's getting a 0. She said, because if I let her get a 0 now, because I know how she feels about getting a 0, said, I guarantee you, she said, because she knew what the routine was. You didn't know what the routine was when we get home, when she gets home from school, but she knew that the routine was she was supposed to do her homework, and said, because she didn't do her homework and she decided to watch television and play games, she said, she's going to learn. I bet she won't do this again. And I just thought I was really impressed by my friend who did it, because I said, I don't know that the average parent would have done that, because it would have probably been so important to the mom or the parent to not want their child to get a 0. But the reality is she's in the 3rd grade. Like, what is a 1 0 in the 3rd grade really going to hurt? The benefit of her allowing her daughter to learn a lesson from getting that 0, to me, is far more important than anything that would have happened with her grade by her daughter getting a 0 in the 3rd grade. And I just think we need more parenting like that, because what happens is if you always rescue them, like, they are never going to learn from their mistakes, and they're never going to learn from stuff. And that leads me into the next thing, which is not telling your kids no. If you always tell your kids yes, what you have set them up to believe is that whatever they want, they always get. And that's not real life. Like, that's not the reality. It's so funny. My niece and I were talking last night. She was saying that she was on a flight, a business trip coming back from LA. And she said there was a family, and these kids were not young. They were like 10. She's like 10, 11, 12 years old. And they were trying to get the son to move to another seat. And she said it was this big, they were across the aisle. She said it was this big scene because they wouldn't move. She said the mom pulls out a $100 bill and bribed her son to move his seat to stop the fight between him and his sister. I'm like, are you serious? Like, what happened to a mom saying you're moving because I said you're moving? But now we're bribing our kids to obey? Like, that is just crazy. So now you have this kid who believes that they don't ever have to follow rules. They don't ever have to obey their parents because they're always going to get, that's just crazy to me. But it starts really early. So I read this book that I absolutely love. It's called No. It's by Dr. David Walsh. It's called No, Why Kids of All Ages Need to Hear It and Ways That Parents Can Say It. And I have highlighted this book so much because, and he goes through when they're toddlers, when they're in elementary school, when they're in middle school, when they're in high school. And he talks about the fact of how important it is for kids to learn no, and they need to learn it early. He uses this example about, you see a parent in a grocery store, their kid is having a temper tantrum because their kid wants some candy right there by the aisle where you try to check out, right? And so what happens is the mom gets embarrassed because everybody's looking at her because she's, her kid is throwing a temper tantrum. So what does the mom do? In order for her not to be embarrassed by her kid, then the mom gives the kid the candy. So what she has just told the kid is, the way you get what you want is that you throw a temper tantrum and then you can get what you want. And he's like, if you're doing this at 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, like you have the same kid who will end up carrying that behavior all the way through till they become an adult because they're not learning self-control and discipline and being able to say no. So there's something in this book that I just want to read because I have so much highlighted. But this was, and this is in the chapter that says, no is not a destination. No is the road to yes. And I absolutely love that. So just bear with me while I read this a little bit because I'm not convinced y'all gonna go buy this book because I bought 10 of these copies of these books for my nieces and nephews, and I don't think one of them read it. So I'm not convinced y'all gonna buy it either. So I have to read out of it for you. It says, parents have reacted against an era during which the attitude was children should be seen but not heard. And they have gone to the extreme in the other direction. The child-centric extreme in which children's voices dominate family life. I've seen that way too many times. He goes on to say, it's all about balance, balancing a no with a yes, balancing a reprimand with a hug, balancing a rule with a reasonable negotiation. He says kids need self-discipline to harness and balance their powerful emotional drives in order to be successful in school and later in their work and relationships. If dominated by the drive for pleasure, they will become lazy and self-indulgent. Have y'all seen that? Lazy and self-indulgent. Because everything in their life has been about, I want pleasure, and my parents have always given me since I was little everything that I wanted in order for me to have pleasure. So now they become lazy and self-indulgent. It says, self-discipline entails the ability to say no to oneself. Saying no to your kids is the key to their developing self-discipline. The word no itself is not important. The concept of no is you can say no in a lot of positive ways. Okay, I'm not going to read it all. One more thing. It says, we say no to our kids to build character. It is a long-term investment. The reward doesn't come when we are enforcing a consequence, when we are handling a temper tantrum in the middle of the supermarket. When we tell our kids that their wish list is too expensive, when we tell our kids that they need to take the challenging courses, when we expect our kids to share their money with less fortunate. The reward does come, however, and it happens when we realize that we have led our kids on the perilous journey from infancy through preschool and the middle years, past adolescence and into adulthood. It comes when our kids turn out to be the kind of adults we hope they would be. The reward for saying no comes when our kids are the adults who know when to say no and when to say yes to themselves. When who can delay gratification in order to accomplish greater achievements. No is not the goal, it's the road to yes. And when I tell you, y'all, this is like if you want to get me on a soapbox, this is the topic that gets me on a soapbox, is the fact that parents don't tell their kids no. And they don't understand that they're teaching them. If you don't tell them no now, your no now helps them be able to say no to themselves later. So what I see as teenagers, when they don't have any boundaries, no discipline and self-control when it comes to sex, many times it's because they were never taught about the importance of self-control. They were never taught about how important it is to not always get what you want. That there's something about delayed gratification, because we live in a culture where everything is about, I want it now and I want what I want and I want it when I want it. So there has to be something about delayed gratification, and parents aren't teaching that. And a lot of times parents, and y'all, I'm not trying to get on you parents, but don't bring them to me when they're teenagers and ask me to teach them how to have discipline and self-control when their whole lives, nobody has ever taught them how to have discipline and self-control. I mean, I got a letter from a girl at 16 years old and said, for the first time in my life, I am going to set boundaries because I have never had any boundaries put on me my entire life. Why is a 16-year-old saying that no one has ever given her any boundaries? She should have had boundaries a long time ago. Oh, it just thought that's my pet peeve. So, and let me tell you what happens when you don't tell your kids no. I had a parent who asked me to do a counseling session with the daughter. The daughter was 14 and she was making a lot of poor choices. And she was being disrespectful to the parents, running with the wrong crowd, just a whole bunch of, I'm not even convinced that sex was even involved. And that wasn't what they were. It was just that she was acting out, getting in trouble at school, failing, not doing her work, all this kind of stuff. So I had a session with the girl. And so I asked her, one of the things I asked her is, I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? Like, that's one of the questions I always ask when I'm talking to teenagers. And you'll see why, like, I try to get into this, because I always realize that what they're going through oftentimes is a symptom. And so I try to get at the root cause. So I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? And she said it was I think it was a 3. So I said, so what would it take for it to be a 10 or closer to a 10? And so they had some major changes in their family. And I said, so what was it before these changes happened? And I won't say what the changes were. And she said it was a 10. And I said, so what happened? So she starts to name all of the things that were different. And they were all things that were outside of her parents' control. And there were things that she should have understood. Like, what you're going through right now is just a temporary phase in your life. And she started telling me all of these things about, I don't get to do this anymore. And we used to do this. And I don't get to do this anymore. And I don't do it. And so when I went back to her dad after we had our conversation, I said, I'll tell you what the problem is. I said, the problem is you spoiled her. You told her yes all of her life. Everything she has ever asked you for, you've given it to her. Because that's what she told me. And I said, now you are in a place in life where you can't say yes because it is outside of your control to say yes. And she can't handle being told no. Because at 14 years old, this is the first time that she has ever asked you for anything. And you can't give it to her. And the dad said, you're right. He said, you're right. And so for her, it came at 14. For some kids, it might come at 20, 25, 30. For some, it might be when they're out of your house and they're grown. But if you do not teach them what the real world is, and the real world is that you don't always get what you want, that there are some times that you have to have delayed gratification. There are some times that Y'all, we are doing kids such a disservice because we have made kids believe that the world revolves around them. And that's not reality. And then they're going to get to a place in life where they realize, and they can't handle it. That's why you have kids who are making so many poor choices as an adult. Because you think about most of the addictions that we have in our culture is a result of lack of self-control, addiction to pornography, addiction to alcohol, gambling addictions. Like all of these things these people will say it was a self-control failure. Self-control has to be taught to your kids early. It has to be taught to your kids early. And we also, I was reading a post this morning, and I don't know if you're on here, Carmen, but I told you, she was saying some of the things that she didn't want to do when she was a kid, and her parents forced her to do it. Like, she was really glad that they forced her to do some things that she didn't want to do because of the things that she learned while she was doing it. She's like, I didn't want to do something, and she learned public speaking skills, but she didn't want to do it. Her mom forced her. She didn't want to be in Girl Scouts, there were all these things. I can't remember all of them right now, but she listed about 6 things that she did not want to do when she was younger. And her parents forced her to do it. And she thanked them for forcing her to do something that she didn't want to do. And you know what I told her? I said, parenting ain't what it used to be. Because I can think of a lot of situations where if a kid said they didn't want to do something, the parents were like, okay. And I'm not saying, because I do think kids can be overscheduled, and kids also tell me that sometimes they feel like their parents are trying to live their lives through them and forcing them to participate in things that they don't want to participate in. So I am not saying that, you have to force your kids to do everything, because I think that you can overschedule them. But I think there's some things that they shouldn't necessarily have a choice in. I don't know. I'm not trying to be extreme and say that, because I think it's situational. So I would just challenge you as you're deciding, like what to push back in. And I know you got to pick your battles, but there have to be some things that if kids in and of themselves with their undeveloped brain, they don't really realize the importance of things. There's some things that parents have to step up and be the parent and say, I know you don't want to do this, but you will thank me for it later. And trust me, they will thank you for it later. Don't overschedule them, but don't give them choice and essential skills that they need. Absolutely, Charlene. Can you share the article on your page? Tell me what article that is. You know me. Are you talking about the book that I just read out of? Charlene, can you tell me which article you're talking about? So let me see if there was anything else I want to say, because I'm already at 28 minutes and I didn't want to be on here longer than 30. But anyway, I have a ton of other examples that I can tell you. Because like this week, I just got a mom. The article I just referenced. I rambled so much. What article did I just reference? Oh, I can't remember. Charlene, I'll think about it, and we'll send me a private message. I can't even remember. But I'm blaming it on COVID-19. But oh shoot, I just forgot what I was going to say too. Oh, so I just had a mom send me an email this week. Her daughter's gotten accepted into college, but they can't afford to pay for it. And so she wanted to know, and she's a senior, and she wanted to know about college scholarship money. And I'm like, it's April and she's getting ready to go to school. First of all, I think you kind of waited too late, but I also think that sometimes, because I hear these stories a lot, sometimes like parents will, again, making the kids seem like the world revolves around the kids. Parents will sometimes go into a lot of debt to give their kids the dream college that they want. And the reason the kid can't get into the dream college is because of the choices they made when they were in high school. So sometimes kids just have to understand you're not able to get what you're going to get because of choices that you made. And this whole entitlement of thinking that I have to go to my dream college, even if I can't afford it, and even if it's going to put my parents into $100,000 in debt for me to go into my dream college, when I didn't do the things that I needed to do in high school so that I could get scholarships, and I didn't. Y'all, we've got to make them take accountability for their choices. It scares me about the kind of adults that we're creating. The next generation, because now we have a generation of kids that are just feel entitled. And let me tell you this. Okay, I just thought of something. So I had a former student who sent me a GoFundMe request page. She did a GoFundMe to pay for her wedding. She was like in her early 20s. And she said, part of the description, she says, I feel like I deserve my dream wedding. Really? You deserve to have your dream wedding, even at the expense of other people paying for it, because her GoFundMe page, goal was $20,000. Like, what world are you living in that you think that other people are supposed to spend? You can have a wedding for a lot less than $20,000. But this whole GoFundMe culture is just out of control. I could stay here all day and tell y'all all the GoFundMe requests that I've gotten for stuff that I'm like, really? You're like, really? Like everybody else is supposed to pay for you to be happy? What world are you living in? So now y'all got me off on another one of my pet peeves. But y'all, and I can tie all of this together though. I can tie all of this together. It all goes back to when this child was probably little. She might have had a parent that made her believe she was the center of the world and that whatever you want in life, you're supposed to get it. And so now here she is in her early 20s. She wants to get married. She can't afford a wedding. And because those were her words, I deserve to have my dream wedding. There are a lot of things that I feel like I deserve that I didn't get either. And I didn't go out asking other people to fund it. Okay, y'all just saw the other side of me. It's just crazy. Okay, so I'm at the 31-minute mark, and I said I was going to be on here, and I can ramble all day long. So I am going to get off of here. Thank you for those who joined me, for those of you who are watching on the replay. Okay, you says also, does the No book address what to do if you or your child is already older? I think it did cover that in the chapter, that if you didn't tell them when they were younger, but now they're older. I don't remember exactly what it said though. Because I know a lot of people are playing catch up. That's right, Lizzie. She says it's not even about their happiness. It's about pleasing people who don't even like them. Okay, you're right. But that's a whole nother live right there. Whole nother live. But so much, now that you mentioned that, like so much about, here's the other thing I was going to talk about. Oh, Lord. So much about, I think parents giving their kids a bunch of stuff is also about the parents trying to look good with their friends as well. So much of parents not teaching their kids discipline is because they do what's easy for them. And so it's like the easiest thing for me to do to shut you up and for me to have peace is for me to go ahead and give you what you want right now. But they're not thinking about the long-term consequence of your immediate peace that you're getting. It's like, I know parenting is no joke. And I know kids don't come with a manual. And I know it's easier said than done. But I'm telling y'all, I see the consequences of it all the time with teenagers and these kids. And I see it with adults who used to be teenagers. So as I said earlier, just don't bring your kids to me to get me to try to teach them how to say no when they're teenagers, and you didn't teach them how to say no when they were kids. So anyway, the book title again is by David Walsh. Dr. David Walsh is No, Why Kids of All Ages Need to Hear It and Ways Parents Can Say It. I highly recommend this book. I refer to it all the time in my parent workshops. I think that's it. I'm going to hop off of here. And since y'all are all stuck at home, I might do another one of these next Saturday at 2:00. Let me know if you want me to do one. Comment in the comments and let me know if you want me to do it again. Oh, I can't believe I'm getting ready to get off without telling you, reminding you about the, let me see if I can pull the thing up. Reminding you about, still getting used to this, about the master class that I'm doing on Monday night for teen girls. It is Intro to 7 Secrets. My book is based on my book. It's going to be amazing. at 8 o'clock Monday night. It's JackieBruton.com. I will, Lizzie, JackieBruton.com/masterclass. Oops. Okay, I'm trying to Chrome tab. So I'm trying to. So anyway, so this is the registration page for it. You can watch a video, the intro to my book, all of that good stuff. But make sure you go to JackieBruton.com /masterclass. Okay, let me get off of here. Okay, let me get back to this. Okay, am I back? Yeah. So anyway, make sure you register. Oh, thank you, Karen. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I have a lot more truth that I can share. And now that we're all home, I might just start sharing more of the truth, because this isn't necessarily, today wasn't necessarily related to sex. It's just that, anyway, I'm done. I'm stopping. Y'all have me on here for an hour. Thank you so much for joining, and hopefully I will see you next Saturday at 2 o'clock. Bye.